Was the NASCAR Cup Series race in Mexico a good race? Shane Van Gisbergen dominated, but there was more to the race than just that. And we got round number 2 of Carson Hocevar versus Ricky Stenhouse Jr., this time south of the border. Will round 3 be north of the border? Welcome back to Break Hard. I'm Matt. NASCAR in Mexico seemed like a really good success, albeit Tab Boyd didn't think so with his tweet. But hey, he could be talking about Mexico. He could be talking about a gas station outside of Charlotte in terms of getting hustled for money, because that just kind of happens everywhere. But everybody seemed to have a good time. Drivers seemed to enjoy it. Yeah, there were some travel issues for sure, but NASCAR Xfinity Series put on a great race on Saturday. Daniel Suarez wins in front of his home crowd, becomes the first ever driver in NASCAR to start last on a road course and then win the race as well. The internet thought it was scripted. Oh, this is WWE. Yes, NASCAR came to Connor Dillish and they said, hey, buddy, we want you to send it up the inside, cut the corner, smash into half the field, allow Daniel Suarez to get through. Don't hit Daniel. Don't hit Daniel. I know you can't control it, but don't hit him. And then go that way. Yeah, no, dumb. But the Cup Series race on Sunday, entertaining race. Was it a good race, though? I'm going to give this race a 78. By road course standards, it was middle of the road. The first half of this race, wildly entertaining. You had wet weather driving, you had rain tires out there, you had different strategies, you had some different players up there. Second half of this race, that was the Shane Van Gisbergen show, and we were all just lucky enough to have to sit there and watch it, because he dog walked the entire field in the second half of this race. Now, let's get into the race real quick. Starting off on lap number 1, we go green. And then we go under yellow because it started to rain, and NASCAR wanted to give the teams the option to put on rain tires if they wanted. Now, personally, I would like to see them all, NASCAR just be like, hey, you guys make your decision here. We're not throwing a caution. You're big boys. You can figure it out. But I also understand potentially not wanting to wreck a bunch of race cars, sailing it off into the corner that they might not know is wet. So basically, everybody in the field comes down and puts on rain tires, except for Austin Cindric and Chris Buescher. They stay out on slicks. And yeah, it worked out about how you expected. Actually, no, it doesn't. It actually worked out better than you expected. They did eventually pit for rain tires. So a few laps later, Kyle Busch goes down into turn 1, loses the rear end of the race car. Remember Kyle Larson at Indy a few years ago when he just blew the corner and annihilated Ty Dillon? Same thing-ish kind of here, just lost the rear end of the car, and man, did it seem to almost pick up speed. He hits Justin Haley, AJ Allmendinger, Kyle Larson, Zane Smith. I believe Chase Briscoe was also in that as well. The 5 and the 8 got the most damage. The 8 done. 5 rebuilds the car. Kyle Larson goes out and gets fastest lap still, even with a car with a bench shock in it. You can't replace those. So, hey, good for him there. But yeah, AJ sucks for him because he probably had a top 5 car based off of some of the practice speeds and everything. But in stage number 1, it was the Ty Gibbs and Shane Van Gisbergen show. Shane just kind of seemed to be riding behind Ty. Ty goes out there, and it looked really good. Ty Gibbs had probably his best ever NASCAR Cup Series car on Sunday, and ultimately didn't get the finish that he deserved for how well that team ran. But those two decide to flip the stage. They pit before the end of the stage break. Ryan Preece goes on to win the stage. Good stage points day for Ryan Preece. In stage number 2, this is where we had some spins and a caution where you're like, is that a caution? Is it not a caution? We had Todd Gillen spin around, not a caution. Ryan Truex spins around, is a caution. Ryan Truex spun multiple times. I think 3, maybe 4 times on Sunday. Entered the spin zone, like some of the people in the comments on my TikTok and Instagram and Facebook videos now as well in regards to Mexico. Just absolute lunacy takes out there. Bonkers, living in banana land at times. Speaking of bananas, the Savannah Bananas were in Cincinnati, and that is... I understand why kids like it. It's like TikTok in real life. I had never experienced it before, and I don't think I'm ever going to again, but I get why kids like it. Every 15 seconds, something different happening. Back to the actual race. So the FRM boys were reminding everybody out there that Long John Silver's is, in fact, still in business. Fish, yeah, I believe is their slogan now. Kind of like Dale, yeah, just with fish. I couldn't tell you where there's Long John Silver's at. Last time I had it, I'm not sure if my fish contained more fish or more grease, but it was equal parts almost. Hush puppies, though, they are absolute fire, as the kids like to say. In stage number 2, though, at the end of the stage, Ty Gibbs decides to flip it again. Shane Van Gisbergen and his 88 team, they decide to stay out. The 88 team believes that there is rain coming. They don't want to pit for slicks, just have to pit for rain tires a little bit after that. Does not pit during the stage break either. Okay, well, guess what? Rain never comes. Very Ferrari at Malaysia, about 15, 16 years ago at this point. Bad luck, doesn't rain. But if he gets a caution, things could work out because everybody's going to have to pit and the fuel window is open now. And guess what? He gets that caution. Carson Hocevar spins out, leaving the stadium, can't get it refired. And NASCAR waited a long time to see if he could get it refired. And part of me thinks that might be because of Carson Hocevar. They're like, this guy's trying to play us for a caution here. We're going to hold it. And he was in an area where I was shocked that they didn't actually throw the caution a lot sooner. He ends up, NASCAR throws the caution. He finally gets it refired. And you can see him trying to refire it. You can see the flames coming out of the tailpipes. Like, he's trying here. He gets it refired. He goes on, continues on. But that sets up for everybody to pit. Shane Van Gisbergen comes back out in the lead there, and he just controls the rest of the race from there. But we'll get to that in a second. We have to talk about the second round of Ricky Stenhouse Jr. versus Carson Hocevar. They made contact once again. Hocevar sent the 47 into the stadium. 47 not happy about it at all. We'll talk about that in a minute. But yeah, that story has not had its final chapter as of now. We get back under green, and Shane Van Gisbergen just drives away from the field. Does exactly what Justin Marks hired him to do, which is win, lock them in the playoffs, give a really good payday for the team that will come from being in the playoffs. But he wins by over 17 seconds over Christopher Bell. A dominating performance. Remember back in Chicago when all the drivers were like, he came in and embarrassed us, and it pissed them all off that he did that to them? Honestly, they might want to be more pissed off now, because this was dry weather racing, and he annihilated the field. At one point, he's like, I'm just cruising. Buddy, you're cruising with an 8-second lead. And then he stopped cruising. And he was a second faster a lap than everybody else. He wins 17 seconds. 17 seconds in the Gen 7 era. On speed, he just drove away from the entire field. And honestly, if he was racing that way the entire time after they went back to green, he probably wins by 24, 25, maybe even more. It was insane. It was an all-time performance from Shane Van Gisbergen in that 88 team. And I'm happy that they got it done, because very rarely do you see a dominating performance like that. And at the end, nobody messed up, threw a caution, anything like that. So you didn't have to survive any late race restarts. Truly one of those days where you're just like, wow. As maybe as anticlimactic as it was still very entertaining to see a guy be that on top of it. He gets out of the car after the race, and he's like, I felt like rubbish today, leaking out of both holes. All right. Thanks for that, Shane. Didn't need that. I'm sure his partner is probably sitting back there, and she's like, oh my God, I can't believe he said that on television. But hey, maybe he needs to feel bad every race, because he looked incredibly good on Sunday, even in the rain as well. He said, I hate racing in the rain. Buddy, you're 2 seconds faster than everybody else. I know you maybe don't like it, but you're incredibly good at it. So keep that up. Rounding out the podium was Christopher Bell in second, Chase Elliott in third. The Chase sexuals, all the Chase fans, you can be happy. Your driver had a top 5 run. Your driver had really good speed. The problem is your driver did not have Shane Van Gisbergen speed. Your driver had about second or third place speed, which is for Chase in the last few weeks, year plus in the road courses, especially in the Gen 7 era. That's saying something. So he gets up there and has a decent finish. Alex Bowman, P4, really good run for the 48, something they desperately needed, especially after having a massive wreck last week at Michigan. I had heard earlier in the week from some people that Bowman was at the Hendrick shop and looked ginger, to say the least. He said after the race that he couldn't walk on Wednesday, which tracks with everything that I had heard as well. So happy to see him be able to complete this race. On top of that, John Hunter Nemechek, another top 10 run for he and that Legacy Motor Club team. Dare I say, Legacy Motor Club has maybe turned the corner. They might actually be on the up for the first time ever, I guess, in that company's history, the legacy history at that. So overall, decent race, but Shane Van Gisbergen just laid it on him on Sunday. Now we have to talk about the incident between Carson Hocevar and Ricky Stenhouse Jr., because we thought this was only going to be a one-time thing. Wrong. We're getting multiple rounds. This is now turning into a trilogy, potentially. We're on the second chapter of it, an unintentional second chapter, again, but nevertheless, a second chapter. We all remember what happened to them at Nashville. Hocevar on the bottom, Stenhouse comes down, gets booted by Hocevar. I thought it was a racing incident. Ricky said after talking to Carson, he understands the thought process there. They're ready to move forward. They're going to move on from it. Guess what? Not moving on from it. Hocevar punts the 47 into the stadium, says he wheel hopped or something like that, hits the 47 of Stenhouse. Unfortunate that it was Stenhouse, because it could have been anybody else, and this probably is a non-issue here. We're going to be like, oh, look, Carson hit somebody else. It was the 47, though. After the race, Stenhouse gets out of his car. He walks right down to the 77, puts his head in the window, tells him he's going to kick his ass. Or beat his ass, or whatever he says. And I'm going to side with Ricky here. Ricky's not a guy that I would want to fight. He's one of those crazy CrossFit guys. Like, he's got a ton of endurance. So I don't really want to fight him for the most part. Everybody's like, oh, Hocevar's huge. Yeah, I'm 6'5". Carson Hocevar is like 6'4". He's in my range. We have very similar bodies. Tall, lanky, skinny. Not fighting. We're not built for fighting. I know that straight off the top. Like, not built for fighting. Built for talking shit. Got that down. We can do that. Not built for fighting. And everybody's like, oh, Hocevar would smash him. Hocevar would not smash him. Hocevar would get broken like a twig. Guess what? Ricky Stenhouse Jr. probably kicked my ass too. Yeah, Hocevar was apologetic, said he effed up. All right, got it. Listen, I think when we head back north of the border, we're going to see round 3 of this fight. We're going to see the trilogy happen here, and it's going to be Ricky Stenhouse Jr. just absolutely sending the 77 of Carson Hocevar. Probably not at Pocono. That would be dumb. I don't think it'll be at Pocono. Probably not in Atlanta either. But, Chicago Street Course is coming up. Could be that, or maybe he sits around for a while and it's like, we'll see how this plays out for the 77. Regardless, not a time you want to make enemies, and Carson Hocevar has made a big-time enemy. I know there's going to be a lot of people that are going to say, oh, Ricky's done this to everybody in the field. He's hit a lot of people, blah, 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 blah. Listen, I get it. I understand it. But when you're on the receiving end of it, it starts to piss you off. Denny Hamlin, Ross Chastain, that type of situation. And I don't think Ricky's going to play around anymore with this. And I see a lot of people being like, oh, Ricky's got to do something about it. Either shut up or do something. Listen, at this point, I think Ricky's sitting around being like, all right, that's going to cost me about 50 grand. If I do something, I'm going to wait this out and see how it goes until he decides if he wants to write that check or not. So overall, thought it was a decent weekend in Mexico City. Hope they go back. Let me know in the comments what you thought about the race, SVG dominating, anything else that happened in the race, the Carson Hocevar, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. incident. Like and subscribe to the channel. Follow me on TikTok at BreakHard, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at BreakHardBlog.